Hey everyone, Nick Griot,
Sam Battersby,
and Stevie.
And welcome to another edition of Griot's Garage YouTube Live. Today we are going to be talking about winter decontamination, giving you all sorts of tips and tricks just about decontamination in general, and then in particular, what you may be dealing with in the winter as we brave the elements and encounter things such as road salts, de-icing fluids, and what effect that may have on your paint, your undercarriage, and in general your care regimen.
Yeah, the whole country, well, most of the country, pressure washer's doing its thing back there. Most of the country is in a lot of winter conditions right now. We're in the heart of winter time across the nation, and we just got a ton of snow a couple weeks ago up here. We know that a lot of you on the East Coast and the Midwest are getting lots of snow right now. So we're kind of right in the heart of the season of when all of this is really important. And we're going to talk about not only how to decontaminate, but also how to prevent issues from all the chemicals and salts and de-icers that are being put down on the roadways this time of year.
Yeah, again, we learned some lessons just dealing with some developmental products that we were looking at on different surfaces with the road trip that I took. And then we did some research to call different states because snow is not very typical for us out here. You know, we're at sea level. We've got seawater pretty much a stone's throw away from us. But places like the Midwest, where the temperatures are sustained at colder rates, you might have some temperature fluctuation, which will lead to not only snow, but subsequent black ice, some nasty conditions. They use a variety of chemicals in those different temperature settings. So we don't have the answers to every state, but once we get into that topic, we're gonna ask you to weigh in on what you've experienced, what chemicals you may know in your state, so we can help build kind of our Rolodex, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, start throwing those questions in the comments section. If you're not sure what your state uses, or you know what your state uses and you have specific questions relative to that, definitely ask those in the comments and we'll do our best to get to all of them later on.
Yeah, and generally we're gonna have some pretty broad-based answers and approaches, regardless of the specific chemical. But it does help to know what you're dealing with so that you can take maybe more drastic measures that may be products that are outside of our own line, right?
For sure, and I think the big thing I learned is that there's not one type of treatment being used in the wintertime really anywhere. Pretty much all DOT departments are using various levels of probably 3 or 4 different treatments throughout the season, depending on ice, snow, temperatures, all sorts of
budget surplus
variables. Yeah.
Whether or not your state's got any cash.
Yeah, what kind of road it's going down on. A lot of factors involved there.
Yeah, so we got a lot to cover today. It'll be a pretty interesting topic. It's not the only thing that we're here to cover. If you have other detailing questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat. We're logging them as we always do. We're going to pick some winners for some giveaways, so fire away in the chat. Please don't spam us. We'll probably just block you or not answer your question. And if you annoy us, you probably won't win a prize. That being said, we've got some pre-submitted questions to address, and we want to talk about some other things going on at Griot's Garage. But the winners of the submitted questions, both in pre-submit and in live chat, you will be winning a professional grade decon kit, which is a kit that has yet to come to market, but we're giving you everything that will be contained within it, and then a couple starter decon kits as well. So some good prizes related specifically to this topic, so don't be shy. Also, if it's your first time here, raise your hand in the chat. We love giving people who come here for the first time some free stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, let us know if it's your first time or your 50th time. Welcome. I think we've got some events, right?
Yeah, if it's your 50th time, you probably already won some from us, and we probably know who you are already. But yeah, we definitely have some upcoming events. First and foremost, Barrett Jackson Scottsdale is going to be kicking off this weekend. We're going to have a team there for the entirety of that show from the 22nd to the 30th. The largest adult circus in the world. I'm going to go out and say that outside of maybe Oktoberfest in Germany, but this is specifically for car freaks. You've got chainsaw, bear carvings, you've got hot tubs, you've got pillows for You got all sorts of essential oils. And then you've got a lot of drunk people buying cars at exorbitant prices. So
always fun.
Go see our guys down there. They'll be working hard, and they'll take care of you.
And pretty much the kickoff to our 2022 show season as well. So.
Yeah, we reset the calendar. We're back at it. We are full strength this year. Not that we weren't last year, but we are attacking. Up next is the Grand National Roadster Show. That's in Pomona, California. If you like the most beautiful, roadsters in the world, lots of hot rods, a lot of big money builds. We will be there from January 28th to the 30th. So if you're in that area and you're going to that show, be sure to see our guys there. You'll see a lot of very nice cars with our products on them as well.
Yep.
Our products have blessed some of the last couple America's most beautiful roadsters. And then lastly, we're probably not going to do another live before the end of this month. So February 5th will be our Caffeine and Gasoline on Saturday, and that will be hot rods. So
at the retail store here in Tacoma. So if you're local, come on down. C&G continues to be a huge hit. I know we had a great turnout this last Saturday. That one was delayed a week due to some staffing shortage. But we're back at it, so.
Everybody's alive too, so don't worry. It was just a.
Yeah, I think we had a busted knee.
Yeah, just a confluence of bad events, and obviously our COVID protocols are meant to keep people healthy, so we're overcautious, and we just had a lot of stuff going on at the same time. But everybody still showed up, so.
Absolutely.
Okay. One other thing, we don't have any active sales right now, but we do have a few coming up. So the best way to find out about our sales, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and you can sign up for our emails at griotsgarage.com. That is generally where you're going to be the first to know about our promotions. So sign up for our email. We generally have some fun content mixed in with our promotions and seasonal education. So it's not just a big time spam.
Yeah, no active sales, but there are a few coming, especially as we approach spring. And if you want discounts, if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed some of our new kits starting to hit the website and the catalog. We're working on a lot of new kit concepts for you guys that are all inclusive, come with all the products that you need to do a specific task on your vehicle. So definitely, if you haven't seen those yet, go on our website and search for kits. And as the seasons go into spring and summer, you'll see even more ending up on there. But that's a great way to save some cash. Whether or not we have a sale running, kits always have normally around 20% of savings built in versus buying everything separate. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's just mention, you mentioned the kits as new products. We also do have one other in-house developed formula that just went live. It was a mid-season launch. This is our in-house developed tar and sap remover, sold in 22-ounce and gallon sizes. We're going to be demonstrating it as best we can on this white car behind us. Just because as we cleaned it earlier today, we had some stubborn tar that's down on the rockers, and on a white car, you see all of that. So wonderful product, extremely effective, one of probably the very best on the market.
Super
as
easy to
we
use.
always intend to be. So that is brand new, and you can buy that in 22s and gallons from griotsgarage.com right now.
Great product to get in preparation for your spring details.
Spring and your sap season. So
getting all that junk from winter off.
Okay, so once again, we've got some people weighing in for their first time. Excellent, great to see new folks coming in. If it is your first time and you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe and notification bell so we can tell our marketing team that we're doing a good job and that you guys are watching us more and more. And then you can follow us on Instagram at Griot's Garage and follow us on Facebook as well. All right, I think all the obligatory business is out of the way.
Yeah, got all the executive business out.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump in.
Let's get on to it. So, road de-icers, I think the first topic at hand is to discuss what causes a lot of the headaches this time of year, and then what we're all up against with getting on the vehicle and then needing to get off as quickly as possible. I think one thing everybody probably knows is that whether it's salt or de-icer or brine, everything they put down on the roads this time of year, really no matter where you live, is not good for your vehicle.
In many different ways, right? Whether that be on your undercarriage and more exposed metals, and on your paint and glass as it relates to any protection that may be on there. It's going to prematurely wear. Depending on where you are driving, whether that be interstate or surface roads, you're going to have different effects. Things are going to be hitting you at different speeds. They're going to be rolling down your paint surface, your undercarriage, and abrading your surface. So it's a tough time to keep a car nice, and some of you may have winter beaters and may not take out your very nice cars, but for most people, they have to drive a car during the winter, and there are definitely some preventative tips that we can supply to you. And again, we're asking you all too, if you live in a state, you know the exact chemical that they use in a multitude of situations. I know, again, in our research we found that different temperature scenarios and different locations, they're using different chemicals. Let us know. Again, we're just building our repertoire as well, so we can help somebody out further down the line.
Yeah, so to start off just with the most common products that from our research we saw are used really all across the country. There's three big ones: calcium chloride, sodium chloride, which is salt, and magnesium chloride. So those are the three primary chemicals that are used to treat ice and snow, really regardless of where you live. Some use one, some use all of them, but those are the three most common chemicals that you're going to come in contact with when you're driving on the road in the wintertime.
Yeah.
As a couple of people have said already, some of your areas put this stuff down well before it snows and continue putting it down well after it snows. So don't assume that just because there's not snow or ice on the road means you're in good shape. A lot of areas will use these in preparation for and following snow and ice just to prevent issues from arising as you go further into winter and beyond.
Yeah, and sometimes that can actually be even worse. For us here in the Northwest, if we have a forecasted snow event, it means that precipitation is coming in, and really it's just going to be dependent upon if the temperature at our elevation is going to get low enough to turn that rain into snow. So if they put de-icer down preemptively and it rains, well, guess what? That's just getting mixed up into the rainwater, the oil and dirt that's already on, say, an interstate or your surface roads, and it's actually going to make it more transferable. The one thing that you're not going to have happen in that is it's not going to get stuck to snow and sit in a particular spot, outside of where water normally gets trapped for any prolonged period of time. So it's kind of a give and take there. But really, it just because it does not snow does not mean your municipality, city, whatever, hasn't already laid something down. So this is just kind of general assessment of, if it's wintertime, if snow's on the horizon, and you're going to be driving, you probably are going to have to assume that they're doing some type of treatment. Again, as Sam alluded to, there's a multitude of chemicals, and even within those subsets, there are other chemicals they use for different scenarios. I think let's talk about what the general purpose is, and then we'll talk about what the effect is on your different areas of your car.
I think the easy one is sodium chloride. Salt is probably the most common. I didn't know that they actually use that in Washington State. I'd always heard that we primarily use chemical de-icers and not salt here. Turns out we do use a fair amount of salt, specifically in the mountains and on the east side of the state where you have snow and ice for prolonged periods of time. And then the other common practice here is pre-wetting. So they'll put down your calcium or magnesium chloride to allow the sodium chloride or the salt to stick to the roads and stay in place better. Now there are some preventative measures that some areas take in putting down a calcium or a magnesium chloride that's going to potentially help reduce corrosion. Now the amount of that reduction is debatable, specifically on vehicle surfaces. Another thing I learned in researching this is that a lot of those corrosion prevention additives that are put down are mainly to prevent corrosion in the rebar that's actually in the concrete in the road. So obviously they don't want the roads breaking down because of all these chemicals. So there's measures that are taken that help prevent any of that from happening. and will have some marginal, improvement to preventing corrosion on your vehicle, but still, it's going to cause problems on your car if you don't ever get it off.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that the product they're using to preserve the roads actually does diddly squat based upon the potholes that showed up around here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like freaking a war zone, like pretty much like a artillery field in the Tacoma roads right now.
Yeah,
you do not want to be driving
like
around.
Mortars dropping everywhere.
Especially with some big hoopty wheels like I just put on my wagon. Goodness gracious. We have a couple quick questions. Tar and sap remover will remove your protection. It may not cut through, say, like a ceramic coating completely, but it's best to assume that it's going to degrade your surface protection in the spot that you're treating it, especially if you're, allowing it to dwell and agitating. It's probably going to degrade that to the point where you should probably assume it's gone.
Yep.
You see another quick one?
Oh, obviously, a lot of people are asking, what's your best product to get this stuff off? What do I do to prevent the issues? So that's what we're going to get to next. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Not going to talk all about.
And quick from Ron Shoup, any ETA update on the ceramic all-in-one? So ceramic all-in-one, it's a product we debuted at SEMA. We were very confident we were going to be launching that at the beginning of this year. We spend a lot of time with all of our products to make them the very best, and in doing so, we included a raw material in our ceramic all-in-one formula that has gone just bonkers with regards to lead time. So unfortunately, right now, we are at the whim of the supply chain. We placed that order in September, and we are still waiting on raw materials for that production run. So unfortunately, again, we are at the whim of the supply chain. This product is coming from overseas, from Japan in particular. So it is a very high grade component to ceramic all-in-one that will eventually make your heads explode. But that has been the unfortunate reality of this moment here. Hopefully none of you are taking it off a train in LA and throwing it on the side of the tracks like all those Amazon thieves, because we'd really like to make that wax and send it to you guys. But that's the honest truth. Right now we are just kind of stuck, and as soon as we get that in, we have it scheduled in our production. So we're hoping that sooner than later, but thank you for your patience, and understand that we're suffering too. We can't get sugar-free Red Bull here. We've been subscribe and save Amazon. We have a Red Bull vending machine in our R&D room, and we haven't had Red Bull for months now, so we're really getting itchy with withdrawal.
So productivity is
it's
down.
Not unique, man. A brand as big as Red Bull is still having some issues. So hopefully you guys aren't seeing that at your grocery stores and any of your other places. But yeah, we're suffering from it as well.
Just to clear up any confusion we had, Alan Friedlander said, I would recommend talking about your products without mentioning chemicals which have negative connotations. We aren't talking about our products speaking to all these corrosive chemicals. We're talking about what specific cities and areas put down on the roads to prevent snow or ice. So we're going to tell you how to not have any issues because of those chemicals using our products to get them off of your vehicle, and how to protect your vehicle and surfaces on your vehicle from those products and the potential corrosion that they can cause.
Yeah, I mean, we're presuming our chemicals aren't going to cause any of those effects. They're going to help
you to minimize those effects. But really, again, we've got some specific treatments. And then again, there's a couple tools that we don't offer that we're going to mention as a way to, again, get going and seek these if you're in situations that are just extreme. I know that there are tools that can help. In particular, Underbody pressure washer wand that has multiple heads is a great way to do high pressure rinsing of your undercarriage. And then there are some other products that neutralize salt, that when they're sprayed on your vehicle, they can 100% neutralize salt. But they're going to need to be rinsed off and followed with a subsequent treatment from one of our washing products, most likely. So
the best way to neutralize salt is typically with an acidic solution, which again, like Nick said, you want to make sure you get off the paint quickly. But I think there are some easier, more approachable ways to taking care of the issues as well. So
yeah, and we've got a couple questions in particular about cold weather and our products. Our products are freeze-thaw tested, so if you're not having sustained temperatures of below freezing, your products are probably fine. But if you have any concern, I would probably bring them inside. At some point, our emulsions can't get back together if they're frozen and thawed multiple times, if they go through too many temperature cycles. They can do it once in general, and in transit, that's kind of what we're most worried about when we do our stability testing. But yeah, if you have the ability to bring them in just a room temperature space, to someplace where it's not going to be well below freezing for a long period of time. These aren't water thin products. They generally have something in them that will raise their freezing temperature. But if it gets too cold, you may see some negative effects.
Yeah, grab a tote from the hardware store and tote all the chemicals up and bring them in the house if it gets too terribly cold out in your garage, or you have those temperature fluctuations like Nick said. And I think segueing on that, Spoonfuls and Joe Van Cedars both commented relative to kind of what to do to clean your car in the freezing temps as well, which Spoonfuls asked, can I use my spray-on car wash kit to wipe off winter grime? Yes, that is a great way to clean in the garage when it's too cold outside to break out the hose and bucket. With spray-on car wash, though, you do want to make sure that the vehicle isn't severely dirty. Otherwise, you're going to be better off using a rinseless process. And either way, anytime you're washing with a waterless wash like that in the wintertime, make sure you're very liberal with application of the liquid so that you're getting plenty of lubricity on the surface to prevent scratching. And then the next comment was relative to using rinseless on the vehicle, and he had a great tip to Joe Van Cedars. That was, couldn't remember the tag there, but he had a great tip to stop by a do-it-yourself car wash. If it's too cold to get out your hose at home, you can pull into the do-it-yourself car wash. Don't touch the brush, don't touch the soap, but simply use the pressure hose to rinse off any abrasive grit, contaminant, sand, dirt, grime, those sorts of things, and then go home, pull in your garage, do your rinseless or your waterless car wash. Much safer because you've already removed all that thick abrasive grit.
Yeah, and on that same topic, we had somebody ask if the touchless tunnel washes are okay in desperation. Look, man, we're not going to tell you that you can't do something to your car. And in desperation, in these kind of conditions, one of the biggest benefits of those touchless tunnel washes, if they truly have no brushes, they're just high pressure rinse with a sequence of chemicals that, again, we can kind of show you how to use in your own home space. We have a very comparable system. One of the great things about that is your undercarriage does get absolutely blasted in those tunnels, so that could be a great solution if you're in a heavy salt, constant condition position. Now, one of the things that may happen with those tunnel washes is that those soaps that they're applying in order to achieve a touchless wash are generally going to be more harsh, either acidic or alkaline, and that can degrade your surface protection. So just keep in mind that if you're using those touchless washes, you're probably going to see diminished life on whatever protection you have. But I'm not going to tell you not to do that if you're desperate and you're looking to preserve your car long term. Yeah,
I'd definitely say it's better than leaving the salt and de-icer and filth all over your vehicle for longer than you need to. And even in an emergency situation, even a brush tunnel wash, scratches are usually easier to remedy than rust. So you kind of pick your poison there. You avoid them at all costs if you can, but in an emergency, it can definitely be better than leaving a vehicle filthy dirty for long periods of time.
So we're talking about all these harsh chemicals that are being put down on the road. We've had a lot of questions about decontaminating, like the frequency of how often you should decontaminate, and especially when you're, in the middle of, let's say, Indiana, maybe you get a foot of snow every couple weeks. You're driving through those conditions, getting a lot of nasty stuff on your car. How frequently should you decontaminate? Should you do it every time you wash your car, or would it be okay to do it a couple times, or once before winter? What's your recommendation there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. I think, short answer is no, you don't have to decontaminate every time you wash just because it's the middle of winter. I would say, doing a really thorough decon ahead of winter and getting good protection applied in preparation for winter, and then doing a really thorough decontamination You know, if you're in a severe case, potentially like midwinter and then again at the end of winter, otherwise at least beginning and end. But when we talk about decontamination too, there are some different meanings and understandings of that word. Normally we're talking, you know, mechanically taking a surface prep tool like a surface prep mitt or pad and removing embedded contaminants from the paint. The one thing that is important to do very frequently is washing the vehicle and getting those salts and de-icers off before they can begin to start corrosion or get into areas where they're going to be very difficult to get out of.
Yeah, we had a person ask about, you know, seeing some rust on some door chips. What product would we recommend that would stop that? And my only answer is touch-up paint, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you see a spot where your corrosion is beginning, the only thing that can happen in the winter if you don't treat that with a rust preventative paint, or again, remove that iron with an iron remover, clean it, and then do a touch-up paint, is that becomes an entry point for further degradation and oxidation that then can start pushing your paint up. So I guarantee most of the trucks I see in Indiana when we go out there, it started in a very small spot and worked its way down. So it's just like a little termite, a little crack in your concrete. The water finds its way in there. So the best way is to seal that up with additional paint. It's really the only way to it.
Yeah, really any bare metal, you know, even if you put a wax or a sealant on it, you're going to have rust issues eventually until you get it coated.
Yeah, so let's talk to just the concept of decontamination. We're going to talk about and do some demos on this. I know we've got some people clamoring. We're still trying to generally cover this topic, and then we've got plenty of demonstrations. Again, this is people get very twisted up in this, get very concerned about this, so we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be here for a whole nother hour. Let's just talk about, you know, these critical topics. But your painted systems and your glass aren't, especially on a modern car, aren't necessarily susceptible to corrosion per se if you have no entry point, as we just mentioned, with paint chips, you know, prior damage from an accident, some place where you have an exposed metal that, again, can be the entry point, can be the genesis of much larger corrosive problems down the line. Where you do see a lot of corrosion beginning is on the underside, whether that be frame rails, untreated or unpainted frames, wheel wells, pieces of trim, especially on like early 90s, earlier cars where you actually still have metal on it, where you go down to a pinch weld that's got just a little bit of paint, all of a sudden you've got some salt sitting in there that gets rid of that little bit of paint, starts it, and again, that's where it all spreads from. So paying particular attention to the surfaces on your car that are not painted is probably the biggest recommendation that we can have. We already mentioned the Underbody Wand, which again, it's a four-headed, looks like a little tube on wheels. You can hook it up to your pressure washer, and it helps you to get under the car, deliver some high-pressure rinse. That is a great tool that you can utilize to rinse your undercarriage. The other thing that we did on this car in particular, we're washing our undercarriage, right? When we use a foam cannon on this, we are paying particular attention to the wheel wells, to any exposed metal area so that we can clean that. One of our friends just left the building. Hope you guys could hear him. He gave a nice little rip up to 35 and probably had to stop at the red light. So we've got Bob Rath is really clamoring for some more information, so we are going to have to serve him for sure. But yes, that is really one of the things that we're probably pointing at the most, right? That it's undercarriage, it's untreated metals, not so much your paint and glass, which are affected in a different way.
Yeah, they're just not as high of risk.
Yeah.
You still want to keep them protected, and they can still take on damage. It's just not as risky as the underbody and those more exposed, unprotected surfaces.
It's more curable, right?
Yep.
If you're going to get really some road rash or swirl marks from heavy abrasives coming over, we can work on that in the spring. We can represent the car.
Yeah, or even some light etching, oxidation, things like that can be fixed, whereas rust, once it starts, it's difficult to stop and restore.
It's cancerous. Yeah, it really starts going. And again, when we're talking about paint and glass, what you're going to see degrade first is going to be your LSPs, your protection. So those are going to have a shortened lifespan, especially the harsher the condition you're exposed to, and also the more winter driving you're doing.
Yeah, so like Nick said, on the 200 series behind us, we were able to get in the wheel wells, kneel down and get the underbody because it's high enough. Now on a small vehicle, that's where those water brooms really come in handy. You can find those at a lot of hardware stores. Might be something that we end up carrying eventually as well. But that allows you to get under the entire undercarriage, and frequently rinsing that off is really important. So if you have the ability to, even if you've put your hose away and insulated your bib for the year, use one of those do-it-yourself washes and just use their warm pressure water and use that to get your underbody, your wheel wells clean, really regardless of the vehicle. But do as much as you can, even if you can't get under there, you don't have an underbody broom or wand. Using those methods to get as much off as possible is going to be probably the number one tip.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go for it.
No, you're fine. We had a pre-sub question from El Sammy 1503 that said, what can you use to pre-wash the dirt and salt off the vehicle before hand washing it? I felt like that kind of tied in. Of course, the best method is going to be using a foaming system with foaming surface prep if you're able to do that. However, if you're not able to do that, you can pre-treat the surface with our foaming surface prep in a 15:1 dilution. Spray that onto the surface. That'll help break that nasty grime down. And then you can rinse that off, then do your normal touch wash.
Should we roll the video and show them what Stevie was just talking about?
We're going to, we got to kind of, before we get into the demonstrations we're going to do right in front of you, we want to give you some context. So we've had a couple people ask about our decontamination tools, and it's really important we talk about chemical versus mechanical. It's very topical, but this car has not been washed for about a month and a half. My wife's been driving it. She drove it through the snow. So for this particular purpose, we kind of saved it up to do a real hardcore decontamination demonstration here. Also accumulate some iron and fallout so that we could demonstrate that product. But the difference between chemical decontamination and mechanical decontamination is chemical, you're asking a specific chemical to do the work for you. Our typical chemical decontamination products are going to be our foaming surface prep, which is an alkaline concentrate that can be delivered through our foam cannon. It's meant to dwell for 5 to 10 minutes, and really it is to soften up any of the heavy road grime, dirt, so that after the proper dwell time has been executed, you can rinse the car, and that's going to make quick work of any of these really nasty caustic road salts, anything that's heavy that's stuck on the paint. And it's great for your underbody as well. It's just our most aggressive soap that we have. It will degrade your protective element without a doubt, but when you're in as tough a situation as we were in, this becomes a natural choice. So chemical decontamination, we're asking a chemical to do the work for us.
And normally you can't survive with just chemical decon.
Yeah.
Typically it's a pre-treatment for your mechanical.
Yeah.
We get that question a lot of does iron and fallout replace the need to use a surface prep mid or paint cleaning clay? No, typically it does not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will, but pretty rarely.
But in general, if you do a chemical decontamination step before your mechanical, you're going to preserve your mechanical decontamination tool.
And make your life a lot easier. You're also going to be able to get areas that a mechanical tool can't get.
Yeah.
Your chemical is going to be able to get into emblems and door seams and belt line trim seams and areas like that where you're not going to be able to reach with a surface prep mid or a clay bar.
Yeah, so the other chemical decontamination tool that we have is our iron and fallout remover. Again, we have washed the car, we've rid it of the majority of the dirt, grime, and used the foaming surface prep to do away with any organic contaminants that are on the car. We'll show you that video very shortly here. And then your subsequent step, once the car is dry, would be to apply iron and fallout remover. Now, we already had a question, can you deliver it through the foam cannon? Yes. However, when you introduce water into a ready-to-use formula, you're going to dilute it a little bit, so it's not going to be quite as effective as the ready-to-use formula that can be sprayed out. Yeah. So the iron and fallout remover, its goal is to break down iron and ferrous metals that are sitting in the pores of your paint. And once again, if you do this step ahead of time, we can dissolve those and remove them from the paint, and those don't get absorbed into our subsequent mechanical step, whether that be a yellow clay bar or one of our surface prep tools, and prolong the life of them. But you're going to have to be using them in conjunction. So without further ado, are we ready to show that video? Okay, we're going to show you what we did to the Land Cruiser today. Sam and I are going to narrate the best we can, but this just shows you our first step of chemical decontamination and the condition of the 200 series when we drove it up today.
So you can see what kind of shape it was in this morning. Now it's been what, probably a month and a half of winter driving.
Yeah, and once we decided on this topic, again, I just said, hey, I'm not going to wash it.
Yep. So, filthy vehicle all around, and it's an SUV, so you got the hatch with plenty of grit. So of course we started on the wheels. Iron and fallout remover and our foaming tire cleaner. It's always easiest to get your wheels cleaned first, get that job out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's confused about why we do it that way, you don't want to get your paint all clean and then spray brake dust and all sorts of wheel gunk up onto your just clean paint system.
And you also don't want water drying on your paint, causing water spots while you're cleaning your wheels. If you dry first, then your paint gets wet again when you're rinsing the wheels. So.
Yeah.
Doing it to start, it's always easy. Some slow-mo tire cleaning.
And once again, we're doing this as part of every time we touch it. So routine car care is easier car care, and that is the key here in the winter time.
And can't really accent enough the benefits of a pressure washer in a wash like this. It's just gonna really ensure that you're getting the salt, the de-icers, the road film out of every area possible. So next we followed with pre-treatment of surface prep 10-to-1 on heavily soiled areas like the hatch and the rocker panels.
Leading edges, anything that gets the majority of the contact.
That 10-to-1 solution just breaks down the heavy soil level a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently. And then we foamed over everything with foaming surface prep in the foam cannon.
You can see we really focused on trying to get everything that was exposed, including the wheel wells. And we just worked our way around the car. One thing that makes us unique in terms of our instruction, we recommend that you do not rinse the car before you foam, so as to prolong the amount of time that the foam can cling on the vehicle. We recommend 5 to 10 minutes if the condition permits, and the foam really does a great job of clinging. And then we'll follow up with a post-cling rinse after that. And the other thing you notice, we foam from bottom to top. That's just to allow the foam to not run down on itself and prematurely remove itself from the vehicle.
Yeah, and you can really see there, especially the areas that were pre-treated with the 10-to-1 foaming surface prep, you get a drastically cleaner surface just by rinsing.
We got a 15-degree tip on that pressure washer, and as you can tell, we are literally rinsing away a heavy layer of grime. We know we've committed a cardinal sin here, but one of the things we wanted to demonstrate is that there's still going to be road grime after that. So we require a mechanical washing step where we refoam the car just with the foaming surface prep that is in the cannon, and we proceeded to wash the car. So that gives us a couple steps, and we're going to be sure to get rid of all that heavy stuff as fast as possible.
Yeah, that touchless initial step is pretty imperative to making this as safe as possible. You foam it, you let it dwell, you rinse it thoroughly, get all the abrasive grit off so that when you do have to do your contact wash with your mitts like we did there, it's very safe and effective. Very little chance you're going to cause any wash and do scratches at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you were looking at that pressure washer result, just the hard rinse, I mean, to imagine putting a mitt on a car that's that dirty and the likelihood of pushing that level of contaminant into the paint versus the reduced amount, that is why we use that foam. That's why we ask the chemical to do its job and soften up and break down those surface, that heavy
Stevie,
surface
can you scroll down in the comments there? It looks like we got a lot of confusion on when to use iron and fallout remover. The only time we used iron and fallout in that video was on the wheels. Iron and fallout can be sprayed on wet or dry, although it is best to use it dry because it's going to be less diluted by water on the surface at that point. In the video, the wheels did have some water on them as I was spraying the iron and fallout on. Not a lot, it was mainly just from the vehicle being driven this morning. But you can do it either way, but it is best to spray it on dry.
Yeah, again, I saw a couple questions related to that. It's a matter of choice, right? If you're presuming that the vehicle, like if you're, again, in LA, in a train yard, I hate to keep coming back to this, but you're gonna have a lot of rail dust, a lot of really heavy iron contaminants if you're just in a industrial area. We don't have a ton of that in Tacoma. We do have some, but just normal use, we're not gonna get a ton of iron. So again, I could choose to use it in the foam cannon on the car that's wet after we just showed you that process of foaming surface prep. And again, the only thing we're gonna do is we're gonna slightly dilute that, so it's not gonna be quite as strong. But you're gonna cover more of the car more quickly for sure without all the trigger pulls. And it might be just enough to get enough of that iron and ferrous material out of the paint so that if you follow up with a subsequent clay step, mechanical decontamination, you still minimize the amount of stuff that is gonna be pulled into that surface prep tool.
Yep.
I want to take a step back for a second. Kevin Clancy asked, if the car is dirty, should you use foaming surface prep before or after a regular contact wash? The idea is that foaming surface prep could mitigate the need altogether of a contact wash. You could use that as a touchless wash. As you can see in the video that we just showed, the Land Cruiser was very, very filthy and needed a contact wash still. But there's no, you definitely wouldn't just use it as a spray-on application after a contact wash. You would either foam it on, rinse it off and be good, foam it on again and agitate it if needed. But it's not something that you would use after a wash. It is a wash in a sense.
Yeah, great comment, Stevie. Usually used before or during your wash. Iron and fallout remover would be used after the contact wash.
Yeah.
You do not want loose grit and dirt on the surface with iron and fallout remover because it's just going to react with all the ferrous metal in the dirt that's loose on the paint. Wash it first, then use your iron and fallout remover. But your foaming surface prep, like Stevie said, can either be used as a pre-treatment prior to or as your actual wash solution through the foam cannon. Keep in mind, I think we mentioned this already, but just to remind everybody, foaming surface prep is alkaline, so it's a high pH. It will diminish waxes and sealants on the surface, so do keep that in mind when you're using it.
Yeah, why is Sam doing all the work? Look, I wash the roof, okay? We try to be equitable here as it relates to it, but Sam can't help himself.
We share the load, I do tend to get carried away.
Yeah, that was easy. Why do we use the long pressure washer gun instead of a short snubby? We did actually take a significant amount of length out of that gun. Yeah. It's just a matter of what we have lined up.
We don't have our own short snubby yet. We're not going to use somebody else's.
Yeah. So we're dealing with it, but we definitely find that even removing that long lance out of our gun brings the center of gravity back, makes it a little easier.
The other nice thing about this setup is, like Nick said, we removed the lance piece, so it's much shorter, but you do still have some reach, which in this type of a wash is beneficial for getting into your wheel wells, your undercarriage, all of that. So,
yeah.
And this comes with the pressure washer. It's not a unit you have to buy separate like a snubby gun is going to be. But you can buy our adapters to get rid of that lance piece, like Nick mentioned.
Yeah. Gotten some compliments. This is one of my favorite shirts, my M Motorsport shirt. Somebody asked if my M5 is still for sale. Yes, it is still for sale.
Buy it.
Yeah, you can buy it if you want. Email me, I'll send you the guy. But we have Robert Lara, we spun him up clearly. So foam first, then mechanical, then dry, then fallout. No. So we're foaming first. We're doing chemical decontamination and washing process to remove the heavy soiling. Foaming surface prep being our most aggressive wash, we find that it's going to break down the heavy dirt the most. And when we're decontaminating with both iron and fallouts and a mechanical step, we're going to degrade our surface protection to a point where we might want to reapply it. So that's the assumption we're working towards with this decontamination process. So the concept would be wash your car. You can choose your soap. If you're not as in bad a shape as this car was, you can use our pH neutral foaming surface wash. Then again, you can apply iron and fallout to that still wet car. Once again, that wetness will dilute the iron and fallout, making it cling less, making the chemical less effective. So it is recommended that you dry the car, but you have your choice. If you're going to use more product and it's less effective, that probably means you're just coming back to us sooner. We don't mind that. Helps us pay our lighting bill. And then after the iron and fallout, the chemical decontamination, you would have reduced the iron and ferrous particles that are in the paint, thus reducing the chance of them becoming embedded in your mechanical decontamination tool. So mechanical decontamination follows your chemical decontamination.
Yep. Another good question that's relevant to what we're talking about right now, I believe it was Robert Laura asked, can you use foam without a pressure washer? Yes, you can. We do have 3 tools total that allow you to use the foaming products without the need for a pressure washer. The first one is the pump-up foamer. That one you don't need any supporting tools or products to use it. All of our foaming products have the proper dilutions for the pump-up foamer on their label, and you can use them all in your pump-up. Makes it really easy. You can also take that to a do-it-yourself car wash with you, which I've done before. When I'm not at home and I need to get crud off the vehicle. And then you also have our foaming sprayer, which is attached to a garden hose. So during the winter time, it just depends where you are and how cold it is as to whether you can use that. And then we also have our air foamer sudsing gun, which is pneumatic powered. You have to hook that up to an air compressor. But that can also give you a lot of the benefits of foam without the need for a pressure washer.
Yeah. Dave N. asked, does foaming surface prep remove existing wax on the vehicle? Depending on the grade of protection, it may not remove all of it. It definitely is going to reduce it more than a pH neutral washing soap will. So this car has ceramic washing coat on it. It's the only thing I use on this particular vehicle. What we saw, it was still there after we rinsed it all off. Left very little water on the car, so that stuff's still going strong. Continues to amaze me how resilient that product is. But if you're looking for options, it is alkaline, as Sam mentioned. We do have a pH neutral product, foaming surface wash, that is going to get you the same foaming, dwelling, softening effect. It's not going to be as aggressive as the foaming surface prep. So depending on what you're going to do, the process you're going to follow, if you're doing routine washing, use foaming surface wash. If you're doing an overhaul, like we did on this car, go for the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It just makes your job easier in the subsequent steps.
Yeah, or a lot of times, like this time of year on my Land Cruiser, I take it out in the snow on purpose and go off-roading and whatnot, so it gets quite filthy. And I'll almost always wash it this time of year with foaming surface prep, but I'm using either foaming polygloss or ceramic speed shine wash and coat afterwards, so I'm reapplying protection right after foaming surface prep. Another good way to do it if you're concerned about your protection degrading. The 10-to-1 solution in the spray bottle as well, if you're using that for pre-treatment, that's going to knock protection down faster than just using it through the foam cannon.
Yeah. Okay, well let's apply some iron and fallout, and we'll talk about that application just because we're kind of at that point. We showed you guys what we did to wash this car today. The first third of the process or so is done. We've done the pre-wash and the contact wash to remove any loose grit abrasive contaminants. So this paint is clean, but it hasn't been decontaminated yet. When I rub my hand across the back here, we can definitely feel some embedded contaminant. You can also see, I don't know if we can get the camera up super close, but there are some little rust specks that are starting to form from the ferrous metal particles that have embedded themselves into the paint, been exposed to moisture, and started to rust. So we had a customer ask that earlier in the live, how do I get the orange specks from rust off of my vehicle? This is how you do that. So iron and fallout remover. If you're not seeing a chip in your paint and you're seeing these rust spots, this is exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at iron or ferrous metal stuck in your paint pour. So we're going to use the chemical to break them down.
Yeah, pretty cool process. And you'll see this a lot on light colored vehicles, obviously. It probably exists on dark colored vehicles too. You just don't see it because the dark paint hides the rust color better. But as you can see here, we're spraying this on dry. So this is perfectly safe to do, and this is gonna give it maximum dwell, maximum efficacy, because there's no water on the paint diluting the product that we're spraying on or causing it to run down faster. So anytime I'm doing the rear of a vehicle, which is normally always the most contaminated section, just because of the way the air flows and brings things back up onto the back of the car, I'm gonna focus heavily around intricate areas like emblems, trim, license plates. Oh, we're not gonna do it right now, but you could remove the license plate, allow yourself to get underneath it.
We have a couple questions while Sam is applying that. Again, we are applying it as a ready-to-use product right out of the bottle. We did mention you can use it through the foam cannon to more effectively cover the entire car more quickly. But again, it's going to dilute it a little bit. The foam will give it additional dwell, but the dilution is not going to make it react as strongly. So just keep that in mind. We had questions about the gloves we're using. They're just standard black nitrile gloves. When we're doing wheel cleaning in particular with brake dust, gloves are just a nice precaution. It's not really the chemicals we're using. It's more what we're removing from the car. The brake dust can get embedded in your hands. If you've detailed professionally and you lost your gloves, cleaned a lot of wheels, your hands are going to be nice, cracked, and black.
It also prevents your lunch from smelling like iron and fallout remover.
Yeah, iron and fallout remover does have a quite a pungent smell. It shares the same active ingredient as our heavy duty wheel cleaner. It's going to be a more viscous formula, and that active is going to be at higher levels.
Yes. Still very mild smelling compared to what a lot of other decon products are out there. A lot of them smell much worse.
Yeah.
But you can already see some of the reactions starting to occur along this top flatter piece. You've got some of those big chunks of ferrous metal, or not chunks, but specks that are starting to bleed. And then like here, these are always my favorite spots. You can see under this trim piece where the hatch splits, you have a couple nice purple runs there where it's essentially reaching into those cracks and crevices and pulling that ferrous metal out, dissolving it.
Hey Matt, is there any way we can get a close-up on some of those? So we're gonna get a little close-up so you guys can see the actual reaction taking place here. Again, dwell time, Sam?
Normally, 5 to 10 minutes. You just don't want to let it dry. So it's important. Sorry, Juan. I tend to get a little loud, so I'll talk a little quieter.
He likes to project. We know that about him.
We're in a big room, and I'm being noisy spraying over here.
Yeah, and we did have a question from Fab Automotive Detailing. How are you doing, Fab? We're going to be on your side of the country next week in our Indianapolis facility. He asked about the consequences of allowing foaming surface prep to dry. You're going to get a film. If it's extremely hot, you're probably not going to, have any damage, but it could dry prematurely, so that'll affect your dwell time. So just keep that in mind. If you're foaming the entire car, your conditions will drive how long that can dwell. So we're seeing some of those reactions come in, as Sam mentioned. They start as little bloody drips and just work their way down. Now again, if it's more dilute, that's going to run off a lot faster, and we'll start to see that exaggerate a little bit more. But if you see any detailers on Instagram, they love to show their bloody iron and fallout jobs. And those are generally from cars that haven't been loved on at all for years.
But it's a fun process to watch because you get a big, visual impact out of it.
Mark Welch asks, how did you dry the vehicle after the contact wash and rinse before the iron and fallout movie? We used XL PFM drying towels. If you haven't used a PFM drying towel, I guarantee you everybody else in the chat is going to let you know you're missing out. It's the very best towel on the market, no question. One XL drying towel can do the entire Land Cruiser, no sweat. Then we brought it in here to do this process. So Sam's going to show you how to agitate it with the Ergo Wave foam scrubber, and he's putting on some gloves because he's going to touch the chemical, and he's got to go, kiss his kids later. Yeah.
Yeah, like we said, the stuff's not going to hurt you at all. The smell tends to kind of stick around a little bit. So
Yeah, we have a good question from Chris Christensen. Once cleaned, what is a good application to protect the inner fender, wheel well liners, and undercarriage components from road salts? Great question. You can do kind of a aesthetic and slightly preventative barrier in undercarriage spray. That's not going to last very long, but it at least is an intermediate step, and it's going to make your wheel wells look a little darker. It's just kind of a detailer's trick. Now, I'm not going to suggest that that is protective in any way. It's just something that you can put in to interfere with that, make it a little easier to clean the next time. One product you can use, and I have used very effectively, we're going to be showing you that in the next few weeks. I just had my frame swapped on my Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Beautiful rhino lining on the bottom and this freshly powder coated frame. I did, after I washed and cleaned the undercarriage, I applied ceramic 3-in-1 wax onto both the wheel wells and frame rails as a spray-on, rinse-off solution. That is a great benefit of that particular product. It works excellent on wheels the same way. You've cleaned your wheels, they're still wet. Coat your wheel with ceramic 3-in-1 wax and rinse it off. You're gonna get some great protection out of that. It's gonna be definitely durable enough to go onto your wheel wells. You could definitely do that to a lesser extent, the ceramic speed shine and ceramic wash and coat. Ceramic 3-in-1 wax is gonna be the most resilient. And again, it's a really easy application. You spray it on, allow it to dwell while you go spray the other wheel well, come back, rinse it off.
A couple of questions about the smell. Cisco Garcia asks, does it smell bad? It's not bad, it's just not good either. But
yeah.
Like I said, it's the least offensive of all of the iron removing products out there.
We try really
Some
hard.
Some people do like it.
Yeah, I guarantee you find a product that has the same active and it's not going to smell nearly as good as our product because we have worked very hard to minimize that smell. So it's the nature of the beast. You want to get some sulfury, nasty egg smell, go buy another product. You want to get kind of halfway there, we got our product. And it's very effective as well.
Stevie, can you scroll up a little bit? I think it was George Liu that asked for tips to not let his fingers freeze when he's out washing in the cold. And Ron Shoup said ice fishing gloves, which is actually a great recommendation. We may or may not have tested some neoprene ice fishing gloves as car wash gloves in years past. But yeah, that's a good way. And then hot water too. Fill up your bucket inside with warm water. You can make it nice. Just don't pee your pants while you're washing your car.
Yeah, I've also, we used to sell cotton liners that you'd put under your nitrile gloves.
Yeah.
Those were a good insulator. The only problem was if you ever got that wet, it'd kind of trickle down in there. So
yeah, I have some like merino wool glove liners that I've used under nitriles before.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and agitate. We've got our Ergo Wave foam scrubber. Just got it wet a little bit to soften it up. And we're just gonna come in and scrub all of this off. So this portion of the process just ensures that those ferrous metal particles that are being dissolved by the iron and fallout remover get fully removed from the paint. Now, if you rinse, normally you'll get probably 50 to 75% of them off because they've released, but there will be some that stay behind. So agitating lightly with an Ergo Wave or like one of our wash and scrub mitts, even just a regular wash mitt or microfiber is going to be better than nothing in a pinch. But this just ensures that all of those particles are getting released from the surface.
So again, what Sam is doing, the Ergo Wave foam scrubber, it is a foam that when dry feels a little rough, but as soon as you introduce some moisture to it, it softens right up and it's a perfect consistency to do the work without running the risk of severely damaging your paint surface. So when you feel this the first time, you'll say, I'm not putting that on my paint. Just put a little water on it, as Sam did. He mentioned he just kind of rinsed it off in the sink, and we're working the paint, no concern.
Believe it or not, most paints, even dry, it won't scratch, but if your paint's soft, it can.
Yeah.
And either way, this just makes it safe so you can be a little more aggressive with it. Super versatile tool, too. So you can use these for all kinds of tasks. Yeah,
I was using it for interior treatments the other day. One of the questions we did get asked is, do you rinse the iron and fallout remover off? Yes, we're going to rinse that. We're going to rinse it with a pressure washer. So we're gonna show you the Ergo Wave after that because we aren't getting the gnarly bleed that you can see from 10 feet away, but
it does require rinsing too. You
Yeah.
can't really pull this off dry. It's not a fun product to wipe off dry because of how thick it is.
Yeah, Chris Christensen asks, is a boar hair brush good for agitating the iron and fallout remover around emblems and trim pieces? Excellent.
Definitely.
Yep.
Especially for emblems. That'll allow you to.
Yeah, you can get those hair fibers in there. You know, even the Toyota logo, it's got a little lip, so getting something in between the adhesive and the edge of the actual emblem piece itself is a great one.
All right. And, you know, you could have a bucket if you want to rinse your tool as you go. We've got all the, you know, abrasive grit and stuff off here, so I'm not really worried about scratching it all during this process. And this hatch wasn't heavily enough covered to where I'd be worried that my Ergo wave is going to get, you know, tons of ferrous metal on it that's going to cause damage.
But it's good practice when you're going panel to panel, rinse it off.
Definitely.
You know, just like you would with any other wash tool.
Not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll go ahead and rinse this off the paint. Just going to use the pressure washer to make it easy. Another nice thing with pressure washers during the winter is it's just less water in your driveway to potentially freeze into ice too. So. There we go.
Let's get out of here. Got a little air in there. All right, if we could show you the floor, it is turning a nice purplish pink as the water gets dilute. So let's see, we've got a couple other questions. If you have a professional ceramic coated vehicle, which of your products do you recommend to maintain the paint? Again, if you have a high solid ceramic coating as a base coat on your car, you can use any of our products, even foaming surface prep. That, again, it will degrade a last step product more than, say, a pH neutral wash. However, if you're dealing with an excessive amount of dirt, it might be the best option. Again, that high solids coating probably is not going to go away from multiple foaming surface prep washes. So you can use that, or you can use a pH neutral foaming surface wash. The other thing, if you have a high solid ceramic coating and you do this aggressive of a process, guess what? You can top it off with an additional coat of ceramic 3-in-1 wax, ceramic speed shine, or even wash and coat after you've completely decontaminated the entire paint system. You're just going to boost the effectiveness, the hydrophobic nature of that ceramic coating, which is the first performance aspect to fall off anyway. So it might be a good time to boost it a little bit.
Had an air bubble in the pressure washer line there. Should do the trick this time. All right. Take up too much airspace with all that noise. All right, we got plenty of purple bleed on the ground if you can see any of that. So that's all that dissolved ferrous metal running off with the water.
Okay, so we'll do a quick dry and then we're going to go to a mechanical decontamination process now that we've gotten the chemical decontamination process out of the way. All right, guys, stay with us. If you have any other questions, please be sure to submit them in the chat. We haven't gotten through all of our giveaways yet. And if there's anything we haven't covered yet, please be sure to submit that right now.
While we're drying the vehicle, David Oaks asked, what's your craziest winter driving story?
Oh, Jesus.
You just experienced it?
Yeah, I definitely just had mine. So, David, as I mentioned, I just completed a frame swap on my Grand Wagoneer, which about 3 years ago I put a LS into and a 4L60E, which is no longer in the car. But I've been driving that thing every day It is my family road trip vehicle, and it's my absolute love. And so I got that back about 3 days before Christmas from J-Rod and Custom. They had programmed all the bugs out of the new transmission, which is a 6L80E. And frame was all good. It was aligned. It was ready to go. So I have a high level of trust in J-Rod, and I threw my entire family in the car, and we're going to go to Bend, Oregon, which is about 600, 700-mile round trip. We were going to leave the day after Christmas, and just so happened to start snowing here on Christmas, and ended up being the worst snowstorm that we've had in a very long time. So I had 300 miles to go. I had my 2 kids, my dog, big old roof rack, and I set off. And as things were going, I switched it into 4 high as I approached I-5 and cruised down to Bend as fast as I could. We pulled off I-5, started going on a smaller mountain pass, which my wife had chosen, which was an enormous mistake as opposed to the route that I would have preferred, and proceeded to get about 120 miles in 4 hours as the sun set and the snow set in, and we averaged about 15 miles an hour, but we had some spots. So I'm in the Jeep. The interior is the last thing to be done. My defrost is completely ineffective. We're traveling over this mountain pass at an exceptionally slow rate. My wipers freeze. My defrost isn't working. My windshield is freezing, and I can't see diddly squat. I've got screaming, crying kids in the back, and I am just absolutely losing my mind. I had about a 2x8-inch area on my driver's side window, and I was pulling over whenever I could to scrape the windshield and get the ice off of it, and it was just absolutely miserable. The Jeep held up. We got to Bend safely, but it was about a 10-hour drive that normally takes about 5.5, so it was absolutely miserable. When I got there, I realized, hey, my low-speed turning in 4-wheel drive is pretty good, right? It's an old, knobby, mechanical 4-wheel drive system. And so I was a little worried about it. And I called one of the guys at J-Rod and said, hey, what's going on? Is this just exceptional? And he said, no, man, you probably didn't lock the hubs. And so I realized that in swapping the frames and axles that I no longer had the auto locking hubs that were standard on the Jeep Wagoneer. And I had forgotten, or I guess I didn't know, that I had to lock the front wheel hubs in order to engage 4-wheel drive. So it took me about 2 days to tell my wife that I had driven through the worst winter snowstorm in history in my old jalopy of a Jeep, and I'd done it all in 2-wheel drive. But the Jeep took care of us, and we got down to Bend and got back with absolutely no issues. So that was... It was my worst driving experience for sure, just because of the crying babies, the lack of visibility, and man, it was very stressful. And again, about twice as long as it needed to be, but the old Jeep held up. So I love that thing, and yeah, now I know, lock my hubs.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't know. One of mine might be, if you guys have seen our latest vlog that's up on YouTube, we did a winter snow trip up to get some shots of that Pinzgauer, and my cruiser got elected to take the photo video crew up there. And all's going great. That thing does phenomenal in the snow, but it's pretty heavy. And we start climbing this hill, and of course, I'm waiting for when I'm gonna have to stop in the middle of this hill in about 2 feet of snow. And of course, these guys got to stop and get photos and videos. So I stop, I'm hanging back, and we decide to get going again, and both rigs are stuck, which normally wouldn't be that big of a deal. So if you're going out snow wheeling, odds are you're going to get stuck. That's why you go with buddies, pull you out, that whole thing. But what you can't really see in the video is the snow and how deep it is covering kind of the edge shoulder of the Forest Service road that we were on. And every time I'd give it gas to get unstuck, I'd drift closer and closer to, the 200-foot drop-off hill on the right side of that Forest Service road. So we ended up using the winch to get out safely, but it was a bit of a pucker moment.
Yeah. No, that video is great. It's a behind the scenes video. Nick A, who manages our social media, is definitely helping us increase the diversity of content. So if you like that stuff, let us know. We can definitely do more of it. We have so much opportunity to do that. So that's really our pilot for that type of material. But yeah, that was an gnarly one too.
There's a picture of the recovery.
Yeah.
And it looks like the edge of the road's like 4 or 5 feet to the right of the rear of the cruiser, but it's more like probably 8 to 12 inches before that drop off starts, before my rear passenger tire is starting to go off. It was a little nerve wracking, but it wasn't too bad. Luckily we had a seasoned search and rescue veteran with us.
Yeah, it just so happened we had an excellent partner in crime on that entire trip.
Confident scenario there.
Yeah. We got a couple questions. Dave N asks, are you guys planning YouTube Live on interior cleaning and maintenance in the future? This is your forum. You're talking right to us right now. If you want to see that, awesome. It's something that we'll do. We want to use these times to teach you as much as we can about what you may be learning about. That is why we do them. Sam and I we don't know everything, but this is our life. We surround ourselves with these products every day. We want to make your life easier so that you can enjoy our products. If we can educate you along the way, that's excellent. So interior cleaning definitely can be an upcoming topic for sure.
Absolutely.
Kind of riffing off that, we had a pre-submitted question asking about black factory rubber mats and them getting filthy with whatever comes off your boots after you walk through snow, salt, de-icers, so on and so forth. He was wondering what's the best way to clean and protect them that won't leave them slick so he slips.
Yeah, if you've got the foaming surface prep out to do the rest of the car, foam that right on your floor mats. That is an excellent way to get them back to bare rubber. Clean them up. You will leave nothing behind there. In terms of protecting them, I don't know, do you have any suggestions?
It's usually better off to not put protection on them just because that can cause more slippery situations. So I normally advise staying away from it. Just keep them clean. That's the best way to keep the traction as it's intended and not cause any problems there. Yeah. But all weather mats are the best way to go, and then just rinsing them, washing them
and
during
again,
your walk.
use an alkaline cleaner. Our foaming tire cleaner is another great product. Our rubber cleaner is another great product. But again, if you want to simplify your life, just pull, and you've got foaming surface prep hooked up to a pressure washer, foam it on your mats. All you got to do is scrub it, rinse it off with a pressure washer, hang them up to dry.
And if you don't want to do it with water, I used to, when I did a lot more mobile detailing, I used to clean all-weather mats with our interior cleaner and a good brush, hose them down with interior cleaner, scrub them, and then blow them off with compressed air. Just blow them off into a towel or out the bottom of your garage door or something like that. Yeah. And that way you can do it without getting them wet.
Yeah. Let's see. Big fan asked, did I apologize to my wife? Of course. I was like, again, it took me a couple days. I was like, how the hell am I going to breach this?
What was her reaction when you said you weren't in four-wheel drive the whole time?
She was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I just thought, and again, it speaks to, just the quality of the limited slip in the rear axle first, and then just knowing how to drive in snow, managing your inputs, and never really getting myself into a situation. We got a guy who was a traffic cop for 31 years, it said. I don't want to diminish your role. I can't see exactly.
That was Joe again, right?
Yeah, traffic cop, 31 years, Joe Van Cedars. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate our first responders. If you ever come to Tacoma, let us know. We got a discount for you. Keep your cars all shiny. But
he might be in the running for the giveaway.
Good God. Let's give Joe something.
He's been very active. I'm not sure. I may have missed you in others, but I'm not sure if you're new or if you've been here before. But yeah, very active. Lots of good questions.
Okay, Joe, you're gonna get some decon materials from us. But yeah, his comment is related to the winter driving idiots that he saw over his 31-year career as a traffic cop, and just pulling up and saying, "Yep, this is gonna be good." Yeah. And it's ridiculous. They're like. In our area, it's Queen Anne Hill.
Oh, man.
And all the hills in Seattle where you see people that just have no business getting out in their car. Like,
really just the entirety of the city.
yeah, just like, okay, yeah, I'm driving normally. Oh my gosh, I'm on a cobblestone hill. I'm in a front wheel drive car with no winter tires or chains on it. And I'm panicking. Here I'm at 45-degree angles. Boom, boom, boom. Pinball machine striking 8 cars as they slide down the hill.
Hills and stopping.
Yeah, it's like terrible because it's terrifying. Like if your car's parked on that hill and you know Granny's going out for groceries, watch out. Even on the passes too. Like you're on a 2-lane road. All it takes is one person to mess up an input. He's sideways. You're stuck. You know, and how hard is it going to be for a rescue vehicle to get up on a 2-lane highway in the middle of the mountains? So it's nerve-wracking, but
I feel like this is normally the point in the live where you guys ask for jokes, but I think we should switch it up and have everyone tell us their craziest winter driving story.
Okay, yeah, let's
while we start decontaminating.
Give us your 240, whatever the character limit is, your best winter driving story, or Joe, since you won the prize, let's hear your most ridiculous, pull over aid story. We got a couple questions about ceramic 3-in-1 and how long it lasts. It's actually we'll answer the question, but this is great because our next live, we're going to be doing some ceramic comparisons right in front of your guys' eyes. You've seen them on a lot of YouTube channels. People apply the products, stack them up, do their torture tests. So we're going to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what we're looking at when we're doing those durability tests and how our products stack up to some anonymous competitors who we will respectfully not name, but we're going to give you guys some insight into that. But and once again, if this is your first time here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on the notifications so you'll know when we're publishing new videos, when we're doing YouTube Lives. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Griot's Garage. But let's get back to answering the root of ceramic 3-in-1 and how long it will last.
Do all that though.
Yeah, do all that stuff first, and then we'll answer your question. No, so ceramic 3-in-1, it's really one of our most durable protectants. It would categorically be described as a ceramic sealant. It's not going to be as substantial of a protection as a high solids ceramic. We've never made any comparison to that. It works great as a booster to those type of products, but as a standalone protectant, it is absolutely excellent, and just for many reasons. 1, ease of use. 2, durability. 3, price point. All the flexibility, as we've spoken to, with wheel application, undercarriage application, glass, drying aid can be used. So really, if you have done the proper steps to apply ceramic 3-in-1 wax, which in most cases is going to be some form of decontamination, getting your paint to a level that you're happy with, whether that be correction or simply decontaminating in order to make sure that you get proper adhesion, applying ceramic 3-in-1 wax on the entirety of the surface you're trying to treat, and allowing it to set up for about 12 to 24 hours if possible before exposing it to weather. And for maximum durability, we recommend applying another coat after that period of time. Again, you could probably apply it after 12 hours. That would be sufficient, but 24 is ideal. And then allowing that second coat to cure for 24 hours. You're going to see 9 to 12 months all day long. And I would say with the exception of if you're putting it on in winter and you are going out and doing some driving, exposing yourself to all these conditions, it's definitely going to shorten that lifespan. But the other thing of the rest of our ceramic products is that if you're consistently washing your car and you're adding more of those products on top, it's going to extend the life of your base layer. And of course, we always like to preface any kind of time span promise with, if you're going to put that on and go through a drive-through car wash and blame us, sorry, man, that's your fault. If you're going to wash it with Dawn dish soap, you're not doing it right. So there are other factors outside of just the proper application, which is really your routine care, that will affect the lifespan of that product.
Well, the good thing is it's ridiculously easy to reapply as well. So
yeah,
you can put it on every 6 months and be pretty much guaranteed to have a very stout layer of protection at all times.
Okay, we're having some stories come back in, so this is great. And then, one other riff on that. If you apply ceramic 3-in-1 to the wheels for protection, to subsequent cleanings with wheel cleaner, strip it off. Both of our wheel cleaners are pH neutral, but once again, every time you abrade a surface, you're going to minimize the protection that's on there. Again, the ease of use, you can always just put ceramic 3-in-1 wax on that still wet wheel, replenish it right away. And it's not going to take a lot of product to cover an entire wheel face. So the answer simply is yes, inevitably, if you're touching your wheel, you're going to reduce it. With pH neutral wheel cleaners, you're going to reduce how much it is diminished. But yeah, you can also apply it to a dry wheel after decontaminating that wheel and get superior durability than the spray-on rinse-off method I described earlier in the live. All right, want to get some of these stories?
Yeah.
Let's scroll up a little bit, Stevie. We got a lot of them coming in, and we're going to give somebody a prize for sure.
I thought that Brian's was pretty funny. 1.5 miles in 6+ hours off-road on purpose, winching for 4 of those hours, including rescuing a Jeep and a Ford. 80 series Land Cruisers rule.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Give him a prize.
All right. You're getting the Land Cruiser default prize here, Brian, but that's awesome. Only going 1.5 miles in 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I've done that a few times. So you trade off, push in the snow. Whoever's got the biggest tires.
Joe said he pulled a guy over once. He said, "Sir, I'm sorry, my mom just died." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. When did she die?" He said, 6 months ago. Yeah, I mean, that's
pretty bad.
I think you use that excuse if you're like on your way to the hospital, like she's literally passed away.
Well, that's like
moment.
one of those things, man. Your mom would not appreciate you trying to use that as an excuse to get out of the ticket.
You're gonna bust dry your mom that passed away. Come on, man. Like,
your mom would probably slap you if she was still alive.
She'd probably say behave and don't lie to cops.
I guess he was honest about the 6 months ago, but
yeah, he's. I mean,
you could be a much better actor.
I don't know. Are you hallucinating? Like, should the cop draw your blood, see what's in it?
It's pretty bad either way.
All right, can you go up a little bit more? There was another guy about high-speed testing on I-75.
I think it might have been down.
Driving a 79 Mazda RX-7. Oh, no.
Ooh,
Michigan winter, testing top speed on I-75. 133 miles per hour. Yeah, Robert, when you're young, you're invincible. Good God.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Cool. We won't tell Joe Vanderseer's buddies.
Yeah. I think we're past
I think the statute of limitation, yeah. Know all about that.
I've heard Beetles are great in the snow.
Yeah, I actually have heard the same because you got rear engine, rear drive.
I grew up at a church with an elderly lady that drove a light blue, I think it was a 77 as well. Dude, and anytime it snowed, she was like the only old lady at church.
Mark, he crashed into a tree. Couldn't stop the slide, crashed into a tree, ended up making it home. Probably because he just crunched the fuel tank and there's nothing else in the front of that car.
Crazy.
Oh, that's an awesome story, Mark. Let's give Mark something too. Good God. I learned to drive on a 72 Beetle, so and man, Forest Beetle is getting close.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to show that thing off pretty soon.
Ooh, fuel pump froze. Jamie Orr, cross-country trip.
Scott Dayhoff, he rebuilt the entire front suspension, put ceramic 3-in-1 on everything. Good. You're like us. You're not crazy. You have a club to come hang out at. It's our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next month. Oh, Jamie was telling me about the story. Jamie Orr, if you guys like Volkswagens, you got to go give him a follow on Instagram and his YouTube channel.
Super cool stuff.
Gosh, I literally spent a few hours with Jamie, and I learned about 5 Mark II Volkswagen Golfs that I never knew existed, that I immediately started looking all over the world to find. There's some really cool ones. So he drives all over the country, does these crazy road trips and builds. So he was crossing the country in a 1990 Volkswagen Golf Country 4x4.
That thing's cool.
It's a Golf that has the 4x4 synchro. It is awesome. In the Texas storm, so the big storm that totally messed up Texas last year, his fuel pump froze with 12 inches of solid ice under the car. Spent the night on I-40 at the Oklahoma border.
Below zero. 0.
Wow, camping in the car. That
Brutal.
is misery.
Yeah, glad you made it out of that one, Jamie.
Yeah. We got a couple clarifying questions. Let's go. Can you scroll up a little bit? Can the 3-in-1 be misted on after washing is complete prior to drying? Well, actually, you dry. Yes, it's a great one. You can mist it on and dry. You can mist it on and rinse it off. You can do the same with the ceramic speed shine. I really think ceramic speed shine is a little better as a drying aid. It's just
a little more user friendly.
A little slicker too,
Yeah.
and just a little thinner. The ceramic 3-in-1 is a pretty rich emulsion. So if you get too liberal with the ceramic 3-in-1 as you're drying it on, you might find yourself kind of working and doing a few more swipes than necessary. So just use it pretty sparingly. The cool thing is if you spray it on a still wet car, you're going to see it react immediately.
Yep, right away.
So you don't
if
need
it's
a lot.
cold out, have a separate, like PFM towel. It could just be a regular 16 by 16, but a separate dry towel just to buff. Is when it's cold, you get that light condensation on the vehicle.
King Gibson says, I just joined the chat. When will the G21 be in stock? I'm waiting on the replacement and need it ASAP. Why don't you email us at social@griotsgarage.com. We might have one that we could, they should be in stock. I know we were like a day away yesterday, right?
Yep.
We presumed our inventory was going to arrive yesterday, King. So give us a shout, social@griotsgarage.com. If we can't ship it out of Indy right away, we may be able to pull out of inventory in the store. We'll take care of you. We know you're depending on that to get paid. So we'll make it happen, man. Let's see. Jamie had a part 2. So after that miserable night on I-40, he fixed the car to dealership, continued to Colorado to film a commercial with Tanner Faust drifting on ice. Then he drove it home via Minneapolis. And saw Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, I saw the picture
awesome.
of washing that car in Jeff's garage. It was probably the dirtiest Jeff's garage has ever been. And your car's probably as clean as it ever was, Jamie, because Jeff does not cut corners.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Finish the trip.
All right. So yeah, looks like King, we got your, what, you got one?
Bob Anderson's is pretty good. That's a big whoops.
Yeah.
Driving in a snowstorm from Nebraska to Illinois, missed a road sign because the snow was so heavy. Ended up seeing the Welcome to Kansas sign. Long night of backtracking in a blizzard.
Oh man, that's a long way to go.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Hopefully your wife wasn't with you on that one.
That's probably pre-Siri, because every time I decide my own route, that lady just shouts at me until I want to throw my phone out the window. Oh man, sounds like we got to get a lot more stories out of our
Those are fun.
traffic cop friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cops always have the best stories.
All right, guys. Well, Ron Shoup, we gave you an ETA on Ceramic All-in-One, which is that we don't have an ETA. We're waiting on a raw material. We apologize for that. It's out of our control. We ordered that back in September, so we are just doing our very darndest, being patient. And thank you for being patient with us. We promise it will be worth the wait. Again, we like to take pride in making sure that we make the very best things, and we aren't going to compromise in terms of what ingredients are going into that product. So we are beholden to somebody else, which we don't like at all, but it is widespread. So sorry about that, Ron. But when it does come out, we can guarantee you will enjoy it.
It's going to be good.
Okay, well, guys, I think we are just about done. If you have any other suggestions for topics, like Dan did earlier in the show, please let us know. As we mentioned, our next live will be some live ceramic durability comparisons. We're going to be doing them right in front of you, so you get a little bit of insight into our R&D and how we develop our products. If you are here for your first time, please hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so you know when we post up new videos and when we're doing our next live. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully we taught you something today.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
No, I learned something.
All right, with that, have fun in your garage, everyone.
Have fun in your garage.
Or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. gonna skip my brain.